I got a lot of stuff to talk to you about. I'm going to talk fast today, mostly because if I slow down, I might fall asleep. But I'm going to cover a lot of ground. All right. So I'm going to cover everything from like the difference between business builders and empire builders. I'm going to talk about getting rich. I know that's not a super popular conversation, but hopefully that'll make sense to you as we get involved. I'm going to talk a little bit about changing lives. I'm going to talk a little bit about my kids because, well, we love our kids. I'm going to talk to you about some frameworks on how you can close anybody on anything. And for those of you that are married, this is a really, really good way to get your spouse to do what you want. And also kids. It's good for kids. And then I'm going to share with you a little bit about some things that we got going on this month because it's a super exciting month for us. We've got some really, really cool things that are happening. And I want to share a little bit about those with you because frankly, I think that there are going to be people both in and out of our organization, both on this call, not on this call, that are going to benefit from it. And I'm super excited about that. And in our house and in our company, in our world, we believe in Jesus and we believe in changing lives. Those are the two constants. And that's the deal. And so in changing lives, man, I'm just so excited. So I want to jump ahead so bad, right? But I'm not going to, right? I think what I'm going to start with is a conversation that I had with my boys just in the last 12 hours. In our house, we work from the home, thank you, COVID. And both Shannon and I work in the business. And so there's plenty of shop talk going on. And we don't hide it from the kids. One thing I know when you're driving business and you're growing businesses, you're going to have lots of wins, hopefully, and then you're going to have some losses along the way. And we talk about them both because we don't want our kids to be soft. We want them to be monsters. We want them to be strong. We want them to be resilient. And then, of course, we want them to be super kind and have great character. But the saying is you can never rise to the occasion. So a weak man can't ever be a strong man in the moment, but a strong man can be soft in the moment. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that they're prepared, right? We want them to be exceptional men growing up. And for all of you that have daughters, we want you to look at those boys and go, that's the kind of kid that I want my daughter to be with. And so my little guy last night was asking about money. And he said, so you guys have lost some money. And I've heard you guys talking about it. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, what do you what are you going to do to solve the problem? And I go, well, I'm going to make more money. And he goes, well, what if you can't? And I said, son, in order to lose something, you must first have had it. You can't lose something you don't have. And it got me thinking about this idea between building businesses and building empires. And there's a difference. And I've done them both. And I've done both of them well, and I've done both of them poorly. So hopefully I can share a little bit about my mistakes and you can avoid mine. But when I was taking my middle kid to school today, he asked me, he goes, you were up late last night. I go, yeah, I was about 1 o'clock. He goes, but you were up late the night before. I go, yeah, I was about midnight. And he goes, well, what are you doing? Hey, everybody, sorry for the interruption. I love that you're enjoying the content. And I'm not here to sell you anything. In fact, I have something I want to give to you for free. I wrote a book. It's called The Lethal Scripts for the Sales Warrior. And really, it's everything that I did to get started in the business and scale my business. And those agents that are using what's in this book on average see an increase in their business by 119% year over year. If you are looking for that kind of growth, you want to read this book. Click the link below, enter your information, you get it for free. Let's get back to the video. I go, buddy, I'm working. And he goes, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm building something exceptional. Like I'm building something that's going to change everything. And while that sounds big and grandiose, in my life, that could literally be something as simple as changing something just for our kids. But that's not what I'm looking for, right? If I'm being honest, I'm looking to change things for hundreds, thousands of people. And the way I'm going to do that is by helping leaders just like you to continue to get better and better and better so that you can have impact on all these other people, which is why I love, don't tell anybody, but this is my favorite group, right? Is the inner circle. This is it, because you all are actually pouring into yourselves on the daily to get better. So why am I telling you this? Well, the idea behind what Quinn was asking me is that everybody wants to have great health and great fitness, but very few people actually want to do what you have to do to have great health and great fitness. Hold on, I got to show you something. Sorry, I just looked up and I'm like, oh, there it is. So this is what it looks like to have great health and fitness. Like you have to make your meals and you've got to carry them around with you and in a lunch pail like you were in kindergarten. Okay. But people want that. Woodburn's going through it, right? I love it. That's fantastic. He knows, like, it's hard. It's not easy. Everybody wants a great marriage. But when you have to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run, know when to treat it like a business, build a mission statement, have goals, have date nights, do quarterly check-ins, like all of the things that go into having a really great marriage, some people just won't do it, right? And again, it's a difference between business builders and empire builders. Everybody wants to have this great financial freedom and legacy and success and all of the things. But y'all, if we're being honest, a lot of people won't burn the midnight oil the way I will. So I told Shannon yesterday, I said, she's like, you're working really hard. And I go, I dare anybody to work harder than me. I dare you. I don't think you can make it, right? I'm not trying to be crass about that, but it's a bit of a badge of honor. It's something that gets me fired up. And maybe it's not for everybody, right? Like smarter, not harder. I think you should do both. Listen, the point is that business builders and empire builders are not the same. And if we know that, we can deal with the truth. If we understand, there are wonderful human beings building wonderful businesses that are operating solid companies and having great impact all day, every day. It's literally what America was built on, is a small business, quote unquote. But these are businesses, not empires. The businesses provide them and others with good jobs and income, but it provides the business builder a job. It's a good employment gig, but make no confusion, it's a job. The empire builders are crazy. Who remembers the Nike commercial, right? Here's to the crazy ones. Like all you have to do is read that guy's book or the biography on that guy, and you're like, oh my God, as if we didn't know he was nuts. He's nuts, right? But they're the crazy ones. They're the ones that are thinking and acting and running at speeds that would make most people uncomfortable. They're the ones that oftentimes are misunderstood, maybe even judged. We can talk about that. It's really not the purpose of this, right? There's a variety of different ways that people think, right? Like oh, well, great, they're the leader. And so now they're their back is turned to us. So they've got a target on their back. And then, listen, I don't know what any of those things are. I think you and I are cut from the same cloth. I think that each and every one of us has the ability to be an empire builder. We just have to make the decision. And yet it is uncomfortable leading. It is uncomfortable sharing who you are, your heart, your beliefs, but it's hard to say that you have beliefs if you won't stand up for them. And oftentimes you end up being the crazy one. You end up being the quote unquote misunderstood one, or you get the hate or the whatever, right? I would just tell you this. I think that it might just be a badge of honor. It might just mean that you're on the right path. If you wanted to be like everybody else, you'll get along with everybody else, but then you won't be one of the top 2%. You have to be one of the top 2%. So to be an empire builder, you're going to have to allow yourself to run. And I think that for me was the hardest part. I'm just going to speak for me. Okay. For me, I spent, my wife says, you spend so much time. She's not talking to me. She's talking to about one of my kids, but she might as well be talking about me. You spend so much time trying to fit in that you actually fit out. And that was me. I was spending so much time to just kind of get along that I wasn't actually who I was meant to be. And I didn't like that. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but when I'm most comfortable is just me being me. And sometimes that means that I say stupid things because my mouth sometimes works before my brain does. Sometimes that means that I will go quiet because my brain is working faster than my mouth is. Sometimes that means that I throw an occasional curse word, although 2025, I am committing to no more cussing. And my wife's on the call, so now she's going to hold me accountable to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want to be me, man. Like, I just want to be myself. And I am a little nutty. So you've got to allow yourself to run. And the way you do that is you build structure and you build process and you build operations around you and your thinking. And I've done that. I've got ways that I can get all of my stuff down on paper. I've got times where I'm free to think and free to write. And I've got people around me that are incredible people who can speak Todd, that can decipher the code put it down. It's the 10-80-10 rule, right? We'll talk about that here in a second. These people that can pick up the pieces and put it together, this tornado that runs through the business and runs through the meeting with all of these crazy ideas. And that's being an empire builder, though, right? See, you've got to have that element, because if you can't dream that big, you'll never build that big. Now, you can't always live there. Here's my point. Every single one of you on this call can be an empire builder. I believe that. I've seen it. Listen, I don't know about you guys in the real estate space. I've hired a lot of agents over the years, okay? And what I have proven time and time and time again is that I'm no good at determining which ones are going to make it and which ones aren't. Like, I have hired a little mousy lady, and I'm like, she's never going to make it, who crushed the world. I have hired the handsome, charismatic guy that's got all the pedigree, and he's going to rule the world. He couldn't sell himself out of a paper bag. My point is that every one of you have the possibility, the capability, and maybe even the responsibility to become empire builders. And here's the great thing. You can build an empire even within an organization that you work in. You don't have to be the number one. You can do it being the number two. See, the number one, I'm the one that has to deal with all the shit, right? You all understand, right? As a CEO of a company, what I get is all of the problems that nobody else could solve. Everybody else gets the good stuff. But if marketing has a problem and they can't solve that problem, it lands at my feet, right? I'm the one that gets served with the lawsuits. I'm the one that deals with the E&O insurance. I'm the one that deals with, cash flows and all of the sleepless nights that come with those things. You can do it while living in the safety of the four walls of somebody else's business. But you have to first know where you are. So that's step one. Know who you are, know where you are. And so I'm going to talk through just a couple of things, okay? So as an example, business builders manage expenses. You all know what I'm talking about? Everybody have a P&L, everybody have a budget, whatever it is, right? You manage the expenses. We know exactly what it is that we're able to spend based on a budget that we created hopefully the year before. And we review that. We make sure that we don't overspend, right? That's a business builder. But see, empire builders, they manage ROI. Different. The first thing that pops off the page when I read something like that is one is on the expense side, one's on the income side. See, one is managing expenses. The other one is managing return on investment, income, right? The return. What does that look like? Look, if you find yourself in a situation where you're spending more time managing and talking about what kind of coffee are we serving in the cafe, or what kind of party are we going to throw, and not how much time or money are we spending on things that are going to come in the door. How many of you throw Christmas parties? Yeah. Woodburn, just roughly, what kind of budget do you guys throw around for Christmas parties?
Sorry, had a problem with the mute. About 5,000.
So watch this. Most empire builders would take $5,000 and they would hire somebody to come in and train all of their agents, or they would spend $5,000 to go to a training. See, that investment, that $5,000 is far more valuable. We talk about growth school. I know that some of these faces are on growth school, right? We talk about growth school. Here's what's really cool about growth school. You go to growth school, it's 6 weeks. At the end of that 6 weeks, you've learned how to onboard 3 people per month. That's $45,000 in income to your bottom line every single month. Now, the cost, growth school, is $5,000. All right, so I spent $5,000 and I got a $45,000 return. Pretty good return, right? But here's the great thing. It's $45,000 a month. And you don't have to stop. You don't have to keep paying for growth school every month. You just pay $5,000 and you get this return. So the agents do the same thing, like, right? So when we talk about building empires, whether it be us, whether it be our agents, whether it be our kids, our spouses, whatever, like, what are we investing our money in? And I'm not just talking about business right now, right? I'm talking about your marriage. I'm talking about your health. If you look and you go, gosh, you know what? I spent more at Starbucks this year than I did on my personal development. Like, you know where you are. Here's the good thing. There's no shade, right? We've all done it. We've all been there. You got to know what the truth is in order to make the adjustments that you need to make, because who you are now got you to where you are now. And if you want to be something different, if you want to become an empire builder, you're just going to have to change some things. You're going to have to work harder. Sure. You're going to have to work smarter. Sure. You're going to have to get around better people. Sure. You're going to have to treat yourself differently. Sure. You're going to all of the things you're going to have to invest differently. 100%. It's the everybody know the parable of the talents. I got to read this because let me see if I can get this pulled up here. So here's the parable of the talents. It's Matthew 25:14 through 30. I feel like I'm a preacher all of a sudden. All right. It talks about this man who's got some servants, right? The master and the servants. So the master gives 5 talents, which evidently is some kind of money, right? To the servants, right? And to the first servant, he gave 2 talents. To the second, 1 talent. And I'm sorry, is that right? First servant, 2 talents. He gave 5 to the first. That's it. Thanks, Todd. He gave 5 to the first, 2 to the second, and 1 to the third. And the servant with the 5 talents invests the money and earns 5 more. So he doubled. So does the second one. Same thing. He had 2, turned it into 4, right? Which is great. But the last one that had 1, we buried it. Wanted to keep it safe. He was afraid of losing it. And so when the master came home, he said, hey, you looked at the first 2 and he's like, hey, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. And, well done, good and faithful servant. That's where that line comes from, right? Well done, good and faithful servant. And he entrusts them with even more responsibilities as a result of it. But the third one gets reprimanded. Lack of initiative, punishment, and literally takes the talent and gives it to the one that turned 5 into 10. Who are we? Who are you in that story? It was one. Can you just imagine that servant though? It's like, oh man, like it'd be so easy if I had 5. Like if I had 5, I would have been like, all right, well, I'll invest 4 of them. But he only had 1. Like everybody else had more than he had. Can you just feel it? Like, oh, I better hoard this one. I better make sure that I don't squander this. If I mess this up, I'm really gonna lose. I might get fired, right? Instead of investing the money and getting the return. I don't know who says it, but there are people that are out there that talk about, like there's poor people and there's rich people, and poor people spend money and rich people invest money. Different, right? Poor people, they buy depreciating assets. Rich people, they buy appreciating assets. I tell you this whole thing for you to sort of have that moment. We're in the last 50 some odd days of 2024. And I am like, no more 24. I'm out. I don't want any more of this nonsense. But I want to thrive in 25. And the only way that I'm going to thrive in 25 is I'm going to think differently now. I'm going to get that dreamer going. I'm going to figure out where I'm at today. I'm going to figure out who I need to be the person that's the leader, the empire builder, the one that breaks all the records, the one that does things that I want to shatter expectations. You know what I'm talking about? I want people to go, wait, he did what? There's no way. So if you're not there yet, this is your year. Right? This is it. This is you right now. This is your year. You are going to be the leader that fulfills the obligation of being the leader in your organization, right? By the way, leaders are still employees. I think you all knew that, right? You get a paycheck. There's an expectation. You show up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what you're doing during the hours that you're getting paid, although I am talking about during the hours you're being paid. But you're going to have to do more, right? The 40-hour work week, I don't know where that came from. It probably came from back in the, shift work days, but whatever. This is not a 40-hour a week position as a leader, right? If we wanted that job, we would be answering phones. But this is our year. We're going to show up. We're going to put up. We're going to make a name for ourselves. We're going to be completely and totally different. I mentioned this 10-80-10 rule. And again, this is something this is brand new to me. So bear with me for a second. But as you talk about growing and scaling, one of the challenges that we've always had is I'm the vision guy, right? So I come in and I'm like, let's go, right? Here's the thing. And I got this idea and check this out. And here's a problem and let's go solve it. And then I go away. It's the Tasmanian devil, right? And then I come back and I'm like, well, what happened? Where'd it go? Like, what happened? Well, that's what the 10-80-10 rule is all about. Okay. So you take a challenge, you take one problem, right? Let's just assume for a second that we're talking about recruiting. Let's just say for 1 minute, you needed to recruit 20 agents between now and the end of the year. Okay. 20 agents in your office. Now, some of you are like, "Ugh." Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, rather than looking at things and trying to find reasons why it can't be done, why not just ask the question, well, if it could be done, what would have to happen for it to be done? You follow me? And that's when you get to let the crazy out. And that's where the crazy, all of a sudden, next thing you know, you've invented something. Next thing you know, you're achieving things that nobody ever thought. By the way, the person that probably doubted the most might be sitting in your own chair. So the 10-80-10 rule. The first 10% of the conversation includes you. You're the visionary. We're talking about visions and ideations and I wonder and creation and holy smokes, this could be amazing. I mean, can you see it? Can you see it? What would it be like if we threw events? What if we did a closeout party for everybody that done a co-op transaction and we brought them into the office and we had some kind of a cool deal? What if we did what if we talked to 20 people a day instead of 10 people a day? What if we went on 4 appointments a day instead of 2? What if our social media game was increased? What if I did a drawing and somebody could win $100,000? I have no idea. Okay. But what if? And then the 80%. Now, you're the crazy one. So you got to get out. The 80% is done by your operations. Okay. Operationally, now somebody's got to figure out, all right, well, what's the structure? What's the system? What's the delivery system of what this crazy person is talking about? Like, how would this look? They got to bake it all out. And y'all, that's their job. By the way, we're just off an election, and I hope that your person won. And I don't know, whatever. This is not about politics, okay? But it is. But I do want to talk specifically about something that happened that to me was really interesting. So when you look at what happened in the political system this go around, you had 2 very different candidates, and they were talking about 2 very different things. One was, very sort of, this is the way it is, and it's economics and business, right? Business, and really what he's talking about is we're going to protect, and then we're going to produce, and then you had this other one over here that was very social issues, right, and very little of the business issues, and it got me thinking about this. Do you guys ever have this in your organization, or maybe it's just mine? Which is more important, operations or sales? See, it's a funny conversation. See, when you think about it, people are like, well, it's operations, of course. Well, okay, tell me a little bit about that. Well, if you can't sell something that you can't deliver. I don't think that's true, actually. I think I can sell something that I can't deliver. Now, I may only sell it once, and I may go out of business pretty fast, but I can sell it. Anybody? But can you deliver something that you can't sell? You can't. What that means is that social, operational, like the stuff that we're talking about, like the cultural drivers and all that stuff is awesome. And we love them. And that keeps the people here. But if they don't come through the front door, you lose, which is why operations and sales and finance and marketing and front of the house and back of the house and everybody in between is all engaged in one thing, and that is sales. There is nobody in our organization that doesn't have something to do with sales, because without sales is the oxygen of your business. No oxygen, no life. So that 80% then in the middle that's being done is being done at the highest level by the people in operations that understand that their job is to ensure that sales happens. And then you come back for the last 10%. And the last 10% is the launch. Simply that. Hey, here we go. Here was my vision. Your team did it, and we're doing it. And now we're galvanizing the team. Hoorah, forward, march. Where are you in that formula? Like literally your position, but also from a mindset perspective, where are you? They're all equally important. You can't do what we're talking about. You can build a business without this, okay? And we've done that. But you can't build an empire without this. So thank goodness we're past the chaos of, the last few months, regardless of whether or not your person won or not. kind of got tiring, right? And we get back to the thing that we need to get back to, which is the thing that we should have always been doing, which is no president, no economy is going to dictate what's going to happen to my business. I'm going to dictate what's going to happen to my business. And the reason I'm going to dictate what happens to my business is because there are times when business is easy and there are times when business is hard. When business is easy, we should be riding the wave and throwing out a sail, stealing market share so that when it's hard, our down is easy, right? Instead, what ends up happening is people ride the wave and then all of a sudden their down is hard. The economy does what the economy does. It goes up, it goes down. We all know 87% failure rate in real estate agents. By the way, it's 95% when it comes to brokerages. I don't know if you knew that. I'm just saying, right? Like nobody ever said this was going to be easy. And frankly, I mean, I don't want it to be easy. If it was easy, then I wouldn't be the only person here. And there are plenty smarter people out there than I am. So if it was easy, like I'd stand no chance. But it's not easy. And I know how to work hard. So this year, we're going to literally rewrite 25. We're going to rewrite it. That's my challenge to you. I can just telling you what we're doing. What we are doing is completely changing everything. 2025 is going to be the best year we've ever had, even though we have no idea what's going to happen to the economy. We have no idea what's going to, listen, nobody knows, but what we do know is it's unpredictable. Crystal ball, it broke. It's in the shop. But we are going to thrive in 25. That's what we're going to do. So, but what would that look like? What would it look like for you to thrive in 25? And I'm asking this seriously. This is the time of year that you do this, because don't wait, y'all. Don't wait and be that like, hey, well, I'll do this over Christmas vacation. We teach in our organization that we do it now. We formulate the plan now. We put the plan in action as of December 1st so that we have 30 days. We're in it. Like, we figured out where the broken pieces are. We're in momentum. We hit January 1st. Everybody else is doing this. Holy smokes, what happened last night? And we're like, bam, baby, we beat you. Like, you'll never catch up. You can't, like, we're going downhill and you are going uphill. Totally different. How are we going to shatter all of the expectations? How are we going to break all of the records? How are we going to do things that we didn't even know was possible? And you probably have a couple of ideas right now, and they probably make you a little uncomfortable. And if I said, hey, listen, we're going to go around the room and I'm going to ask each of you to tell me the one thing, you're like, oh, camera off. Right? Melissa, that was just timing. Like, I said that and your camera went off. I was not picking on you.
I keep having people walk in.
No, it was funny. I'm like, your camera's going to go off. It went off.
There you go.
Sorry. I'm not going to do that, by the way. But here's my thing. Like, that thing that makes your hands a little bit sweaty, like, oh my God, I'd have to write a check to that college. That's the one. That's the thing. You all know exactly what it is. And listen, here's what's really cool. When you do it and you experience it, you are going to be able to have conversations with people that need you to talk to them like that because you've been through it. See, if you haven't been through it, you can't have that conversation. And I would suspect, I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, because of a conversation that Todd and I had many years ago, he's probably changed the lives of people around him that have watched what's happened to him, have maybe dipped their toe a little bit, asked a little bit for some assistance, and he hit him with a hammer with, how committed are you? But he went through it. And when you go through it, you get to teach it. There's so many people that are out there telling people what to do. That's not what you need to do. You just show them what you did. If you can't show them what you did because you haven't done it, you shouldn't be telling them. You follow? We did a dream day here a few weeks back. Pretty cool, right? But what was interesting about the experience was, and again, why I can talk about it today, because we just did it. What we did is we said, hey, let's identify something that's broken and let's identify an opportunity that maybe we're missing. We changed it. Like, it changed from, I don't know, we've got all these problems, to whatever you can dream. Don't find a reason why not. Ask yourself the question, what would happen if the answer was yes? What would I have to do? What would I have to leave behind? Who would I have to become in order for me to have that thing? So that's step one, dream. Step two, you guys are here, which is wonderful, right? But, we all talk about in our companies, whether we're in mortgage or whether we're in real estate brokerage, It's all about production and recruiting. Same deal. Sales is sales is sales. Okay. I need more salespeople doing more sales. Right. So when we talk about production, if we wanted to impact production this year, we'd get everybody to thrive in 25. Every single person. Let somebody up. Look, the Bible even talks about it, right? You can't be a prophet in your own town. There's a reason that you bring in, the Chuck Whiteheads and the Todds of the world, right? Like you do it because you know that you can say the same thing and then, Johnny will walk in from outside the zip code and say exactly the same thing. And they're like, oh my God, that changed my life. That's okay. Lean into it. Embrace it. That's wonderful. But get everybody into Thrive in 25. Thrive in 25 is on November 20th. It's at 11 o'clock Mountain Time, 12 o'clock Central Time. And it is a business and life planning event that's being held via Zoom. So literally from anywhere in the world you can go to. It'll be 2 hours. People will leave there with a business and life plan structure, period. Done. Here's what's great. As leaders, if we can get our people to go to those things, now we can commit to teaching them the skills that they need to accomplish what they say they want to accomplish, coaching them to achieve those things, and probably the most important, the true show of love, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable to it. That's all I did with Todd. I loved him enough to say, hey, listen, dude, let's make it hurt. And he wasn't going to pay any money to that school, y'all. Like he would have died on the road on a run. Okay. So that's your production. So dream first, production second, and then third is recruiting. And one of our leaders, I can't remember which one it is, so but I can't take credit for it. We talk a lot about movable middle, and we talk about, hey, look, you have 20% of your agents that are doing 80% of the business. And I hate to tell you this, the truth of the matter is if they left you and they went to ABC Realty, they're still going to pay their bills, okay? They're not going bankrupt. I understand that we all believe in our brands, that we have great value propositions, that we're running great organizations, that we're leading and coaching and training people properly. I totally understand it. And I'm not saying that their business won't be impacted. In fact, we track that stuff. We know that their business will be impacted by 67.7% to the negative. But that's not the purpose of this call. The purpose is to simply say, if when you go out and you recruit and you're trying to identify, hey, I'm going to call all the top agents because I want to drive all of the units, while I totally get it, that's not the one you can have the big impact on. Their margins are smaller, they're harder to recruit, and they're being recruited by everybody. And I don't want to say anything that's going to be offensive to anybody, but I'm just going to say it, all right? Because I see there's some beautiful women on this call, so they're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about, okay? A beautiful woman walks into a bar. Like, this sounds like the start of a joke, right? They get all of the attention. It's not the first time they got the attention. I've watched it time and time and time again, okay? If you want the attention of the most beautiful woman in the room, don't give her attention. And suddenly she's like, what in the world is going on? By the way, it works the same way with guys. If that were the case, if the top 20 is doing 80% and you went, hey, you know what? Yeah, they're great. Hey, what's up, dude? And you just kept walking instead of everybody else. Hey, what's up, dude? Can I get you a drink? Will you come work for me? Just flip the script. You're going to focus on the movable middle, but the movable middle isn't the bottom 80. The movable middle, take the top 20, cut them out, take the bottom 20, cut them out, and focus on the middle 60. The middle 60 will completely and totally change your life. By the way, you will change their life, which is what it's really all about. Like, if we just focus on changing enough other people's lives, you and I don't ever have to worry about growth. We don't ever have to worry about production. We don't ever have to worry about expense reports. Well, we probably will. We don't ever have to worry about our businesses growing. We don't ever have to worry about building an empire, because all of a sudden you'll have an army of disciples that are saying, hey, listen, I want a piece of that. I can do that. This guy believes in me. I didn't believe in me. He or she can see something in me that I can't even see in me. He or she's asking me about stuff that I've never had a boss ask me how my marriage is or what's going on with my kids, or what are you talking about? Like, they care. Had anybody hold me accountable that way? I've never had anybody like help me do a business plan and then actually dig in every single quarter to figure out how I was doing and report my numbers. And you follow what I'm saying, right? It's the movable middle. By the way, your margin on those, way different, right? You're having to buy those top 20% agents. Like these people over here, they're going to be like, holy smokes, they're talking to me. Like they want me. Now, on the recruiting side, there's this thing called the proven process. Anybody heard of it? Anybody but Jeff? Yep, a couple of you. Good. So proven process was like capital P, right? Not little p, big ones. The reason is because it's not a phrase. It's an actual thing, right? It means this is a process that was proven to work. So may I make a suggestion? Don't change it. Just do more of it, right? Just be better at it. I think it was Jim Rohn. Hey, don't wish things were easier. Wish you were better. Does that sound like him? A little bit? Not even close? All right, whatever. It's a tough crowd. You guys are tough. But listen, the proven process is there. It's meant to be followed. Don't do it. Just do the thing. Do it more often. Get better at it. Identify the skills that just get better. Just get better. And then I want to talk about closing, because we all have the same thing. Everybody says we're all at a different level in our businesses, right? We've all experienced like different experience levels, and gosh, I'm really good at this, and I can build rapport like that, and oh, I just care about people, and all of these things are amazing. I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. By the way, I don't really care. It's not an excuse. Introverts make incredible salespeople. Extroverts make incredible salespeople. It's not a thing, right? Like we're all empire builders. Every single one of us has the capability of building exceptional wealth, incredible legacy, and changing lives, building something that will forever change your life, your family's lives, your kids' lives, and the kids' lives of other people. Okay. And all you need to know is that Todd is a perfect example. I love this. I keep using you. Sorry about this, dude. But you are kind of front center of my screen. But look, this is how simple it is, though. Okay. A simple conversation that he's now having with other people. Yo, can I tell you something? Like, I know people that have died just in the last few days. Okay. They didn't need to die. It's somebody's mama. It's somebody's daughter. It's somebody's father or best friend or son. Y'all, what Todd is doing by demonstrating through his actions and being willing to have those conversations, he's not just changing that person's life. He's changing that person's spouse's life, that person's kid's life, that person's parents' life, that person's friend's life. Tangent. Yo, this is how big the stakes are, right? So I think sometimes we get into the grind. You know, we got the no more 24, like, oh, right, let's shake it off and go, hey, remember what it is that we're doing here. So we're going to get better. And what we're going to talk about right now is closing, because I think closing is one of those things that people are like, oh, you know, I'm just not a closer. And I do love the clip where the guy's like, put the coffee down, right? Some of you know what I'm talking about. Coffees for closers. But closing is not a talent. Like, you are not born a closer. I get it. Some people sound like they're born a closer, but they're not born a closer. What they've done is they've developed the skills to be a great closer. They understand when to be the thermostat, JR, when to be the match and mirror, when to go left, when to go right. They understand that whoever speaks the most loses. They understand that it's not about manipulation. They understand it's not about brainwashing. It is about brainwashing, isn't it? Like, if you're closing somebody, aren't you brainwashing them into believing what you believe? Isn't that interesting? Like, what they've been brainwashed into getting what they got, and yet they don't like that, and they're not dissatisfied with that, and they're unhappy with that. And yet, you know, we kind of have this conversation. Well, I don't want to be that salesperson. I'm like, well, I don't know about you, but like, I want to brainwash somebody into believing that they are worth something more, because they came here for me to believe in them so that they could believe in them. So you have to develop these skills, and these skills are learned by learning them from experience, from other people. I mean, that's part of what we do, right? From a training company perspective, what we're saying is, look, you can go out there and you can do it the same way. By the way, I'm pretty sure that you'll probably get there. I mean, I did. If I can do it, you can do it. Okay. But here's the thing, it took me decades and I got a lot of PTSD and scar tissue to prove it. So what you could do is you could hire a trainer, you could hire a coach, and what we're supposed to do, because we've done it before, is now we're supposed to compress the time and mitigate some of the pain associated with getting there, right? That's training. But you have to learn it and then you have to practice it. And you got to do it over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to give you guys are going to want to write this down. So get something to write down. I'm going to walk you through a closing framework that I think is beautiful. And I think it fits for everybody. Y'all, I'm not asking you to be me. I'm not asking you to sound like me. I'm not asking you to believe like me. Well, maybe I'm asking you to believe like me, but you are you. You sound like you. You look like you. Be you. But just take the words and understand the concept of where we're going. Because if you wanted to close, every single person that you presented a solution, now look, you have got to have followed the process to a T. You have got to have done it exactly so that you asked the right questions and you had the right meeting and you did the right things and you didn't solve the problems on the first meeting and you scheduled the second appointment and you told them how excited you were. You built up the moment, the excitement about, oh gosh, maybe there's something there, right? So you've got to follow the process. But then how many of you get there, you're like, oh, here we go, baby. I'm going to give this. And they're going to be like, absolutely, I'll sign here. And then they don't. Anybody? Anybody challenged with this? I can't get them across the finish line. Bro in blue, if you don't raise your hand, is it not blue? Your arms look smaller in that shirt, by the way. All right. So here it is. After you've given the presentation to somebody, oftentimes what happens is people just talk, right? And if you're one of those talkers, this is going to be powerful for you. We get done, we give the presentation, we walk them through again the proven process, and this is the problem that I saw. Is that still a problem? Yes, it's still a problem. Well, here's the solution I found. Do you like that solution? Yeah, I kind of like that solution. All right, well, what is that? How many transactions is that going to help you? Okay, that's going to be this. Or how much time is going to save you? That's going to be this. All right, well, blah, blah, blah. And then we do the math all the way out and we identify, hey, look, this is a big decision. The stakes are really high. And I've just solved it. And now I've made you an extra $1 million over the life of your career. It's pretty powerful stuff, right? I mean, you and I think, oh, they're done. But yet so many times they don't, right? So change the way you close and ask them questions like, what did you like best about what I've shared with you? Notice I didn't keep talking. Hey, Aaron, that's what I got for you, man. I put this whole thing together. As you can see, I put a lot of thought and energy into it. Can I ask you a question? What did you like best about what I've shared with you? The saying is, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Shut up. Listen. Let them talk. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Nod. Yeah. I got it. That's fantastic, Aaron. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. What questions, if any, do you have about what I've shared? Yo, don't mess with it. Okay. Hey, what questions, if any? Because maybe they don't. And let's not plant the seed that they should have questions, because maybe they shouldn't have questions. But let's make sure that we ask, what questions, if any, do you have about what I shared? And then shut up. Let them talk, right? Let them ask. By the way, what do you do after they've answered the question? Trick question. What do you do after they've asked the question? What other questions do you have about what I've shared? Keep asking the questions until they've run out. What you've done is you've helped them. By the way, I know some people get really, really nervous when people started, when anybody says, well, objection handlers or whatever. All we're really trying to do is we're trying to arm each and every one of our salespeople, us included, with an ability to answer a question. And when we get nervous about objections, what we're really saying to ourselves is that we're not confident in our ability to answer them. It's a skill. It requires practice. It requires learning. It's what the 5x5 was built on. What's the 5x5, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. The 5x5 is, what are the 5 most common questions you get before somebody joins your organization? Sounds a lot like, what are the 5 most common questions that I get from sellers before they list their properties with me? What are the 5 most common questions that I get from buyers before they sign a buyer's representation agreement? And we just come up with 5 responses for each of them. And then I practice them over and over and over. And once I've practiced them, I'm skilled in being able to answer anything. And by the way, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to find the answer is a perfectly acceptable answer if you don't know. But we've got to change our mindset around what an objection is. An objection, a question, is simply an invitation for somebody to do business with you. They're literally saying, hey, I will do business with you if. Now, they're not saying it, but they are saying it. So that was number 2. What questions do you have, if any, about what I've shared with you today? 1, 2. So then the third question is going to be based on what I've shared with you and the answers that I've provided to your questions. Aaron, what interests you more? Making big cash, making more money, or having more time, or both? Don't mess with it. Hey, listen, dude, we went through this whole thing. I gave you this great presentation. You've asked all your questions. They were great questions, by the way. So based on what I shared, based on the questions that you asked, and based on the answers that I provided you, what's piqued your interest? Is it time to make a bunch of money? Is it time to buy back some of your time, or is it both? What's going to be the answer? Anybody have a guess?
Make more money.
Anybody else?
Both.
Both. It's always both. I don't know why. Maybe it's a psychological thing where it's the last thing you said, and so it's the easiest thing you say. But, and maybe, I think a lot of people, maybe it really is about the money, but they don't want to tell you it's about the money because that doesn't seem like it really plays well in today's world, which, by the way, we got to get everybody through. We as leaders have got to get people to the other side of that because this is a money-driven life. It's called capitalism. We live in the United States of America. And if you aren't driven by money, you are driven by money. And here's what I mean by that. It's what the money can do. There are some people that just want to be rich. I'm not one of those people either. But listen, I love the idea of what having tons of money will do for the things that I am passionate about. I love the idea of this. I could build an organization that is making so much money that the people that work for me all could be millionaires. Now you have my attention. Now that to me sounds pretty amazing. So ultimately it comes back to the money. So is it making big cash? Is it saving time, or is it both? You again, just ask, that was number 3, right? So if you had the opportunity, Aaron, to have both, you could have it sooner or you could have it later. Would you choose sooner or later?
Sooner.
Of course you would, right? Makes perfect sense. So let's go ahead and fill out the paperwork. Y'all, don't give it to them. Don't send it to them in an email. Don't give them, here's the link, blah, blah, blah. Just fill it out for them even. Like, I don't care, dude. Like you'll do whatever you need to do right there on the spot. I would write it on a napkin if I had to, right? Sign here, but just fill out the paperwork. Now, come on, y'all. Now, watch. I followed the proven process. I gave them a great presentation, didn't I? It was amazing, as far as you know, right? And then I just asked, hey, look, based on this presentation, what'd you like best? They tell you. By the way, they're helping you close them. What questions do you have? I mean, if any, they tell you. Well, based on what I've shared and the questions that you've asked, what interests you most? Like, is it making more money? Is it saving more time? Or is it both? And if you had the opportunity to get that now, or if you had the opportunity to get that later, which would you like, sooner or later? Awesome. Sign here. Good? Was that good? Do you guys like that? Is that easier? Y'all, isn't it crazy how if somebody could just simply write it out for you, it's like, oh, shit. Got to stop that. Oh, shoot. We can do this. Okay? We got this. Like, listen, you all have this. This works in every single sale, period. I don't care what we're doing. I don't care what we're selling. This works for your buyers, your sellers, your recruits. It works for your wife. It works for your kids. Like, I'm telling you, this will work for everything. So go do it. Go get really, 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 really good at it. And I don't know, go teach it to somebody. Okay. All right. I'm going to close up. We're going to end up real early, but listen to me. I want to tell you something that we're launching on November 20th. Okay. What's happening on November 20th is going to change everything. Bold. I understand. But we are going to make coaching and training affordable for every single real estate agent, not only in the United States of America, but in North America, in the world. 100%, we're going to make it available and affordable. We're going to make it available to them 25 hours a week or a day, 8 hours a week, 366 days out of the year. We're going to make it affordable. And we're going to provide this coaching and training to agents by agents that have done it, not the ones that stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. These are real people that have done the real thing, that are not telling people what to do. They're showing them what to do. And here's what's super cool about this idea. This is going to bring some people along with us. I'm going to do something that has not been done before. Certainly not done in the real estate coaching and training space. And what's going to ultimately happen is that some of the people that are on this call and some of the people that aren't on this call are going to end up making 6 and 7 figures as a result of it. And you're like, what you talking about, Willis? What was that? What you talking about, Willis? I don't know why. Shannon was just talking about, his name is Arnold, right? Yes, different strokes. Yes. Coleman, right? Gary Coleman. What you talking about, Willis? Listen, I know this sounds completely and totally wacky, but I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be people that are going to become millionaires as a result of this program. This has never, ever, ever been done before. What you have in the coaching and training space is organizations that are out there saying, hey, listen, do as I say, do as I say, do as I say. You got to come here. You got to coach with me, coach with me. Listen, not everybody is going to spend $2,000 a month to coach with somebody who's never done what it is that they say they wanted to accomplish. I think that's being a charlatan. I think that's being a fraud, and we're not doing that. What we're going to do is we're going to make coaching and training affordable to every single person for the cost, less than the cost of a Frappuccino a day. Okay? I don't drink Frappuccinos. I know Todd's not drinking Frappuccinos, but they're expensive. All right. So I found out. But this is all going to happen on November 20th. And we're going to launch this whole thing. And if you have an interest in knowing more about what that looks like, and notice that there's no sales. I'm not selling anybody on this right now. I'm not giving you all the information because that's not what the purpose of this call. But if you have an interest in doing something big, something bigger, and being more involved in that training and leadership and changing the world, the empire building, and you're looking for a way to do that, text me. Just text me. My phone number, 208-720-5500.